New World Screwworm for Central America and Mexico, very much focused on communication and training. So we welcome you to our webinar, our regional webinar, Prevention of the New World Screwworm in Swine Production. I am Rocio Campuzano. I am the Agricultural Health and Food Safety Specialist in Mexico. Welcome, everyone. I also want to give thanks on behalf of AICA and the program on agricultural health and food safety to Mr. Heriberto Hernandez, President of the Pig Producer Association of Mexico, and also chair of the Ibero-American Association of Pig Producers, as well as Colonel Armando Garcia Lopez in Senacica, Dr. Ivan Espinosa, Executive President of Pormex, Dr. Jacqueline Garavito from Guatemala, who also is joining us today to share some of her experiences. With these webinars, we want to let you be up to date on the current situation of this problem in Mexico, and also learning from what other countries are doing, and so ensuring an exchange, not only from the desk and the office, but really from the producer's perspective and people who are out on the field, as Dr. Ivan Espinosa is not just a president of the association, but he himself is a producer. And like Dr. Jacqueline Garavito, who is joining us today, and will be sharing field experiences. Of course, the CPA, with all the work they do, the Pig Producers Association will share their experiences. So today we want to learn about good practices, of course, and what has been done right, but also learning from what should not be done and what we should avoid. So again, I warmly welcome you, and with that, I give the floor to Dr. Ivan Espinosa, in representation of Mr. Heriberto Hernandez, to talk about the purpose of today's webinar. Hi, everyone. Good morning, Dr. Rocio and all the participants, Colonel Armando, and everyone else who is joining us. Thank you so much for being here today. This is a topic of concern for all of us, but we all want to be sure especially to do something about it. How to prevent the impact of the screwworm in swine production. We know that it has been a problem identified first in bovine, just because of the way they are produced, but because it is really capable of affecting any hot-blooded animal, including swine, then it becomes a very relevant topic for us. We want to be sure we have the tools and the skills to identify the presence of the worm, any preventive measures, preventive actions, and finding the best way to coordinate among all the different stakeholders in the value chain to be sure that we can address this problem. It was once eradicated from our country. Today, I am sure we have all the elements to, again, join efforts and do all we can to eradicate this pest. And by the hand of the experts, we will learn the strategies as a country, exchanging ideas and actions that are being done in other countries and areas. And of course, as Dr. Campuzano already said, the field experience, which is valuable and crucial to help us with tips, recommendations, and anything that will ensure that we have a better management of all the risks that the screwworm poses for pig production, swine production. Thank you so much for being here from the Ibero-American Association of Swine Producers and all the members in the region. It's really wonderful to see your participation here and also in Pormex, in the swine producers of Mexico. We're all very thankful and interested for the invitation.
Muchísimas gracias, doctor. Bien, yo solamente les voy a
Thank
dar
you so much, Doctor. I will just
un resumen de las
summarize
actividades que estamos
the
haciendo en
activities
este proyecto
we are doing under this project to reinforce or enhance capacity building, training, and communication of the risks of the New World Screwworm.
Como se le conoce en México.
It has different names in Spanish, the New World Screwworm, but it does not only affect bovine cattle, as we have discussed. This began in 2024. It has a 2-year span, the project, and from the very beginning in Mexico, we consulted immediately with Senacica, which is the authority in charge of this matter in Mexico, and they immediately jumped on board, and because of course we are not necessarily going to be substituting the authorities in any way. We just put ourselves to their service and everything they're already doing. Mexico implemented a national emergency plan for this. This type of plan is normally published and deployed when there are exotic diseases, which the CPA deals with. But in this case, and just as a few years back for spongiform encephalopathy was also introduced much before the pest was found in Mexico, this plan was activated. We were at that stage beginning our own regional project, and we have had several workshops, trained the trainers to ensure everyone was informed on the New World Screwworm. There were also risk communication workshops, several activities to promote reporting of cases through veterinary services in each country. Of course, Mexico was no exception, and Mexico also had already worked a lot on this matter through Senacica, and so we came on to support them. And this project will come to an end in about 2 months' time. Next week, we have a simulation in Sinaloa, training through a simulation. We've done this or organized this since last year, and we will finally have it go live, if you will. We will have a simulation there. Last year, we had one in Torreón. Even before it was known that the screwworm was arriving in Mexico, we had 2 in Chiapas. And again, these were all preventive measures. We've also distributed all kinds of materials, leaflets, promotional materials, brochures, all over the country in events where Senacica participates. And for that, we have the sponsorship of the United States Department of Agriculture, USDA, for all these activities. And hopefully, we will soon get the green light for other projects we have submitted to continue supporting all the work. And of course, we've always been working closely and in communication with the productive sector. And again, today we come to this seminar with pig producers, which is so important, not only for the large swine producers or medium-sized. We want to reach even the smaller ones as well, and backyard producers, to highlight some of the things that Senacica has available for you that Dr. Armando Garcia will share soon.
Cumpliendo con el tiempo,
So looking at the
vamos a
time,
ahora,
let's go ahead
ya
and
adelantándonos un poco,
begin.
pero bueno, vamos
We're doing
ahora
good time, but
a
in
la
any case,
participación
let's
del
start
doctor Armando
with
García
Dr.
López.
Armando
Él
Garcia
es el
Lopez.
director de la
He is
Comisión
the
Mexicana
director
de
of
Estados Unidos para la
CPA, the
prevención
Mexico
de la fiebre
and the
aftosa y de otras
Mexico-U.S.
enfermedades exóticas
Commission to
de los
prevent
animales,
um,
mejor
foot and mouth
conocida
disease
como
and other
la
exotic
CPA, la
animals,
Comisión
so
Prevención y
known as a
Control, como
CPA,
ya desde hace muchos años
the
se le conoce.
Commission to
Bien,
prevent
adelante, doctor,
foot and
por
mouth
favor, con
disease.
sus
Go
actividades.
ahead,
Ya puede proyectar.
doctor, with your
Gracias.
activities.
Les
You
pido, por
can
favor, a los
project.
asistentes que
Everyone,
coloquen sus
if you could please
preguntas, ya sea en el chat
ask your questions either
o
in the chat
en la
box
sección dedicada
or
para
in
ellos.
the
Si por
dedicated
tiempo
section
no
in the
nos dio
Q&A
la
box,
oportunidad
because
de
if we don't have
responder
the
a
time
todas,
to cover them
las
all
vamos a enviar
now,
a los ponentes para que les den
we will
respuesta.
be sending them to our speakers so that they are answered. Thank you so much and good morning. I'd like to start by thanking ICA and all the organizers for the opportunity of being here. Thank you also to the swine producers, Opormex. Obviously, this is an emergency. It's a very important topic. We've been in this situation now with an emergency plan for 1 year and 4 months. And obviously, because it is a disease that affects all hot-blooded animals, it is of interest for all productive species. We have held several activities through our different protocols and procedures as this disease progresses or advances through our territory. So I just want to briefly give my presentation. Just some points I wish to highlight that have been brought up before. And I think one of the most important things is looking at the current situation in the country. So just very briefly, the life cycle of the fly, 21 days. The main features of this fly is what it looks for its laying of eggs, the wounds, open wounds in hot-blooded animals, and that is very problematic. And then afterwards in the cycle, it tries to bury itself to continue its development from larvae to pupa, and it has a large capacity of egg production, 200 to 400 every time. And it's 3 to 4 times that it can lay eggs, so it's a large amount of eggs by a fertile fly. Also, importantly, it only copulates once, the female only once. The male several times, but the female once. This is very important for the strategies that are deployed to try and control it. So this is the current situation in Mexico as of last night. Of course, these data change as we have more reports in coming days. But as of today, this is the situation. You can see that a large part of our country is already either part of areas that have received it or have an infestation or are recently showing cases. Mexico, different from Central American countries, still has areas free of the disease. Obviously, because it comes from the south, we see that we have all the cases reported in Guatemala and Belize. They're very important for us to see where the flies are moving. Here we see already there's a large number of cases. Now, let me explain what this means. The 20,677 accumulated cases. These are accumulated from November 20th, 2024 to date. And when we say active and inactive cases, I want to be very specific because on occasion this can lead to confusion. An active case is not a case that is eliminating larvae at that time. Of course, nobody could really know that because we would need to have presence in wildlife, and nobody's monitoring that as closely. Or even in commercial livestock farming, we cannot really know how many larvae are being released at this time. Active and inactive cases is a way to classify them based on detection. Of course, all animals are treated, and an active case is when there's a wound that has not healed or there's no scars on the wound, because it could be, again, a place for the fly to lay its eggs. And inactive cases are all cases where the animal has been certified free of larvae. It has no larvae, no wounds, no health risks. And those are the white stars you see in the map. The red dots, sorry, the blue dots are the most recent cases, and the red dots are those that have the 2-week period of being active. Per epidemiological week, as we divide it, we can see the trend. It has always been growing. It's an upward trend. We do see a strong drop in the past weeks and the last week of December. This is just because of the time frame. December, the ranches are not visited as often. These dates are colder as well because it is the colder time of the year, especially in the north. It even gets to freezing temperatures, so that meant a prolonged descent of the curve. But when we started the springtime, you can see again that we see the upward trend. If we were to remove these dates for the reasons I mentioned, we would see a constant upward trend. By accumulated cases, again, this is important for you to understand, to avoid confusion with active or inactive. Accumulated cases, and let's look at the percentages to avoid giving any numbers. Chiapas, of course, they have the largest border with Guatemala. Yes.
Perdóneme que lo interrumpa.
Sorry
Me
to
dicen
interrupt, doctor.
las intérpretes que se le oye un poco lejos.
Just to be sure, if you could come closer to the mic. Thank you. Yes, let me try and speak up, because I think I am close enough. Yes, thank you. So as I was saying, for accumulated cases, we have the state of Chiapas. Chiapas will always be the one with the largest percentage because it's the state that shares the largest border with Guatemala. And it's where the disease began. So it's been the one where it's been present the longest. But also Oaxaca, Veracruz, and Yucatan, in the next places, they do not share borders with Guatemala. That means that the fly is spreading forward. Importantly, looking at the number of cases in Oaxaca or Yucatan. And we then have the state of Tabasco, Campeche, who do share borders with Guatemala and Quintana Roo. But if you look at Puebla, San Luis, Michoacan, even in the state of Mexico, we found cases at even 2,400 meters above sea level. This might be because of transport of animals, but it has been reported at this height and in quite cool weather, such as Puebla. For the rest of the states, we have another important front, which is the Pacific side. If you look at Michoacan, it shows cases just as Colima and Jalisco, already all of them with cases. The greatest advance northwards is in the state of Tamaulipas. We have a very important operation there to try to stop or create a barrier to help us stop the disease there, to avoid it progressing further north, trying to contain it.
En los casos, ¿en qué especie están representados?
And looking at the species, cases by species, bovine especially, this happens in all countries. And then we see canines. And here I have to say, especially in places where the infestation begins with the screwworm. The second tends to be swine, the second species. This is very much favored by a common practice, at least in some communities, which is to tie down the pigs. They are tied, and so that means they get wounds on their neck, and that's easy to infest. Because it is a productive disease that is constantly feeding and is being supervised, then the animal is treated, and that's reported. And if it is caught on time, there's no problem. The wound heals, and the productive animal can continue. The productive life for the animal can continue without any problems. What is increasing these numbers is the dog, because dogs move around farms, open land, and they just roam around. And sometimes dogs don't have owners, they're stray dogs, and if they are infested, they're just roaming around and spreading the disease. The fourth is equine. We've had several cases now, over 200, all concentrated in the south. And then you see that we're also working quite strongly. It's a Nasica with birds, with all the migratory phases they have coming back from the south of the continent to the north. Where you see the wounds most is in the navel, and then there's a series of other wounds and lesions because animals fight each other, or because a facility might have a loose cable or wiring that creates the wounds. So that's why it's so important to always consider good practices. The animals do not get these wounds, and we don't have these problems. There's other factors. We've added some of the most salient here, but there's also bat bites. It's not a very high percentage. It's not in the first places in terms of the impact. But what I want to say with this pie chart is that these are just some. There are many other statistics of sites where wounds have been located. But if we were to ensure naval disinfection and treating wounds on time, obviously the ones with or without the screwworm, then we would see a great reduction. So the strategy still is to treat wounds however you can, as soon as you can, and it should be a common practice. Other factors have an impact and participation, but most importantly, we have to be on top of things and looking at our animals. You see some of the pictures here with the types of lesions and wounds that can be present. You have a vulva infection after giving birth. It can be in ears. In dogs, it's very common in the ears. For swine, we have several on the neck because they are tied down. We also have to be careful about navels, again, looking at the umbilical cord when the animal is born. And in areas that are very difficult down there, you see that it can also be in the hooves. So what we have done at Senasica, the fundamental part of this talk are control strategies. And so starting in 2024, we issued the emergency plan to face the emergency. At that time, it was an imminent threat, an imminent presence of the worm. And so we started organizing groups to care for this state-level emergency. We had some simulations in Chiapas mainly. You'll see we have carried out others to work on information on the disease. Of course, it's clear and understandable that we don't have the personal experience of having worked with the screwworm because it had been eradicated. So to ensure we had knowledge updates, we had to work a lot because the associations of biologists, veterinary doctors, and others had no training. They just had no experience on this because, again, it had been eradicated. These are some publications through our official guide and the plan, the agreement through which this was implemented. It is valid for 6 months. It has been renewed continuously until we can control, contain, and eradicate the disease. This plan allows us to work jointly to allocate resources, but not just financial resources, but human and material resources. And it's the legal framework that allows us to work to fight the disease. This disease, I can say still today, is officially registered as an exotic disease, and so we're fighting it under that strategy. Fundamentally, ensuring reporting happens. We have provided training for that, visiting universities, visiting farms, communities. If you see the picture here, the fluorescent green tubes, these are for sample collection and medication for treatment. There's also a vial that helps us recover the larvae so that they're sent back to the lab for testing. Also, we had to find a way to monitor cases, so we have a mechanism to track and monitor. Reporting cases per epidemiological week. This disease is being tracked daily, almost on real time. We get a daily summary. And this is officially published in Senacica's webpage. You'll find all the information, all the cases that we find per day. And of course, that's an enormous amount of work just to keep these statistics going with the full evidence, diagnosis, support for it, that we can actually prove that it is a positive case. It is a lot of work. For that, we had to ensure we had the fastest diagnosis possible. And so we established a mechanism for remote diagnosis with imaging. We call it telediagnosis. And this uses stereoscopic microscopes that help us take pictures, images, to then send them to entomologists, and they're the only ones that can provide the diagnosis of the disease. I've been asked about pictures themselves, but these are not just pictures of a larva. With the specific microscope, you have to identify the structures that can help us say with certainty that it is the screwworm. For that, we had to train the staff so that they could ensure they take the pictures as needed. Another mechanism is traps. This has been monitored with monitoring traps to see whether the fly is being released, if we see a presence of fertile flies in any areas. The control of mobilization of transport, this is basic. As you saw, the rapid advance from Panama has been also because of cattle mobilization and transport. So one of the fundamental strategies is to control transport and mobilization. We need to have mechanisms to identify the animals that are going from one place to the other, because this is the way that it's mostly spread, more than the fly's flight, naturally. I will also refer later on to other topics of this plan, which lead to certain questions. But in any case, we are doing our surveillance, saying that every day we have this monitoring, this national mechanism. We're working in every state, not only those who have, which have had cases. We're working throughout the country to ensure we can stop and detect any activities. And we also have the specific corrals that are certified from origin to destination to support cattle mobilization, so that this is all supervised and monitored at different inspection points. The activities we most develop and are most interested in, of course, all of them, but very importantly, social participation.
Para la atención de los casos, ya que si nos reportan, nos ahorramos muchísimo tiempo.
If they report to us, what we have provided is the talks to producers, technical presentations, cattle presentations, for them to understand what is needed, whom they have to report to is very important, because I have a case, but what can I do with this case? So who can I inform? So the services I will mention are free if they are provided by Senacica, but they do not have cost for the producer, for the farmer. So we have 193,757 assistants. So normally we make an important dissemination with several strategies, placing standards. So the leaflets we are distributing, the posters distributed are significant. So we have one equipment so we have an equipment to inform. We use this equipment constituted by loudspeakers to provide information, so they do not have, if they don't have posters, we can give this even in native languages, 10 native languages. Now we are on 13 native languages we have translated for everyone to have access to the information. Also, we quickly said the service and to whom they have to report to. This free distribution is important for larvae collection, and where they have to report is systematic. So we agreed with labs that the product that we use for wounds, we asked them to make this on a presentation. It is not a commercial presentation. So just for the Senacica social activity, which is to give these tubes for sampling taken, but also to talk about wounds. So we are here to explain how wounds need to be treated, and we provide all these dissemination materials with kits for wounds, to treat wounds. Songs related to the screwworm have been developed and disseminated. What can we do in CPA if we take care of a case? So primary instruction is to introduce ourselves with the owner or the person responsible of the animals, to make a review of the animals, not only the affected one, but also the healthy animals. And the application of the treatment is mandatory, 100% of cattle review, and to weigh the cattle to verify that they do not have wounds. So this is made through a systemic way, and we also provide, we weigh them, so in case the larvae and the service could be eliminated. All this is included on a report, and we know where they are in this point in order to provide the surveillance and to continue with the activities. So this is just to show you the field work where we make this larvae taking, and here you can see the field operations. So there are the ones and things that we need to identify some people like to do this with AI, but it is not the size of the larva. And we have not too many records of this, but as you can see, we do not know if this has larvae or not till sample is taken. So we also fumigate. This is one example of the fly that goes down on the earth. So the idea is to prevent the larva to fall down on the floor, on the ground. So we need to connect things on a cement surface, and after taking the samples, we need to get rid of them. And this larva, if the larva is a significant sample for us, but after that, we need to be sure that the larvae will be destroyed. So we put them on the drainage, but if it is better to put them on the ground, otherwise this larva will generate flies. We believe it is another example of the things that we are making. Immediate decisions. So sometimes it takes from half an hour to 2 hours. We also have training courses. There is one course online. We invite you to record on it. It is free. So we need to send a request by email to CPA, and we answer you indicating the requirements that are needed. And you can join in the schedule you would like to. And after that, we issue a certification of the course. Those are the different modules that we have. They include images, they include videos. Initial preparation is important. We are providing these training courses in different states as well. AICA supports us a lot, of course, and with collaboration and funding provided by them, we go to some states that may be kind of risky. Now we're going to Sinaloa and Zacatecas, so we are having in different states. Here you can, in this slide, you can see the different simulations, field simulations that we do. So this is to a group of leaders that will know what to do in case the problem occurs in their state. So the aim is to work with the farmers of the region, but also with the authorities in order to organize a team that could respond in case of the emergency. In field operations, we'll show you the distribution we have so far in the different areas. A free area, which is the border area with the United States. In the area we consider buffer, there are free states, for example, California, South California. Sinaloa is still free, or Zacatecas not anymore, but Nayarit, yes. And we have free Sinaloa as well. But this is the buffer area. And this one is the red one is the affected area. What can we do with this? We have done some tasks, some work to activate these places. This is cattle that goes from south to north. So we check, we get the phytosanitary certificates, and with this we know what is the cattle that is leaving the place, and they go to a specific pen that is located in the buffer area that I showed you before. So in this authorized pens, we verify the cases. We bathe them to remove ticks, and we provide all the treatments possible to assure the best health condition for the cattle. Another option that we have is when we detect a case, one single case, we activate a mechanism where we check 40 kilometers around the place. So a diameter of 40 kilometers. So, and we do a run. In this run, many people participate in the run. But the idea is also to inspect the place, to check the animals, to see if they have wounds. And this expands the circle of action. So with this large number of participants, we are conducting visits to places. So we have a small size, medium size, and large size in the places. The sound is not good, I'm sorry. All the animals, we check all the animals in that area: bovine, ovine, caprine, birds, porcine, feline, and even the dog. Even the dog is checked, and we treat it if needed. Pillars for the control and mobilization. We control the mobilization for pigs. The pig movement from the southern border to the north is something that we do. But from south to north, there are small movements or little movements. And we need to be careful. These animals are moved. What is the problem? I will specifically refer here. So when we cannot apply the protocol if they go to the trail. So we need to assure that no problem will take place, will occur. It is not possible to treat with some medication for the same reason. But we are sure that the problem is not going to be bigger. So the barriers established as final ones, those are the ones that you can see. I'm not interested in giving you the names. This I named this the first barrier, and this is the second one. Any of these points without showing the prior verification was sent back. If there is any problem, the totality is sent back to the point of origin. What is the point of origin? So where the cattle was documented. so we can see the control of origin, transit, and destination with different inspection points. And in all the sites must respect the regulations. With all this, we know we can have an idea of those who will try to avoid going through the controls, but we try to minimize this using vehicles that turn around the different transit points or places for the cattle. So if we see a vehicle, it is stopped, revised, and if the documentation is there, no problem. Otherwise, it has to go back to the place of origin. The contribution and this work is not only related to diagnosis, but it is also related to the some users, and they are making some tasks in the inspection point, particularly in these times of heat. So sometimes it's difficult to make a good inspection in the day because of the heat. So in this activity, animals were trained, the dogs were trained for detection. The aim is that they detect the smell of wounds. So this is characteristics. So the smelling capacity of the dogs are higher than the human one. So that's why we use them. The production in Panama is concentrated on a very specific place in Mexico. The idea is to set a barrier to control the progress and to go down. This is located in the Pacific coast, the Gulf of Mexico. In this area, flies are appearing. So we take pupas from Panama. We disseminate them using these refrigerated boxes. So we release the fly, and as the temperature, the environment, as the weather increases, we can see them working. This is an important negotiation of Senacica to have this capacity, not only to bring the flies, but to do the dissemination, because Panama is really far away from us. But it's not only in Chiapas. And this is a state close to Guatemala. We're having the last works for this plant where we're going to produce another 100 million of flies. And this is going to be done with cooperation from an institute from the United States, Senacica, and others. The progress in the plant is almost concluded. I mean, the structure, we are hiring the staff that will work there. The plant was built almost on a record time, in 1 year. So we are including Mexico's participation. Why am I showing this image? So we need to retake many things. This is a new building for full control. I would like to highlight the field work. This is very important. It is very important that we do not believe that the fly will gonna come to do the whole work. We need to reduce the number of fertile flies, and particularly the report. There are complaints, meaning that if I do not have this type of support, it's because we do not know where they are. The report is a basic report. Not everything that I show is what we need. We need that you report the cases
Perdón,
that are
doctor.
taking place.
A lo mejor sí puede hablar un poco más alto porque
If you speak louder, because it is hard for interpreters to listen to you.
Yo sé que a lo
Yes,
mejor ya no
the
se
sound
escucha
is
personas,
terrible.
pero si hablara un poco más alto,
If
el
you
volumen,
speak a
por
little bit
favor.
louder, we need
Gracias.
you to increase the volume. Thank you for that. I was talking about the importance of notification. If we do not have any notification, we do not have a timely and appropriate notification, what I'm showing here does not have any value because it is included in the data generated from notifications and, of course, from the search, the intended search that we conduct. But this has the limitation that we are not everywhere and we do not know all the opportunities for people to provide this report. So there were some trapping as well. So there we take samples with different types of traps of the flies that are being released for dissemination. So if there is a frequency of fertile flies, what is the participation of NCPs? And this is one of the most important points I would like to mention. An early detection of cases and the report. If we don't treat this, we're going to break the cycle. We're going to prevent the production of more flies. So we need to apply all the preventive and control actions. In the case of farms, I mentioned how important it is to implement the best practices, that the facilities do not generate wounds in animals. We need to avoid having wounds, but we have to report them and treat them. Dissemination and training. I know that here we have a good number of people connected, but if we do not have this multiplying effect of this information, thank you for your participation, but the most important thing is to disseminate, to largely disseminate the information at the level of people we talk to, either in the farm or in the city, for them to know what to report and whom and what they have to do to treat the disease and to pay attention to the other collaborations that we're going to conduct. What do requests from farmers? So to constant review where they detect indications, and to inform and timely. The data included here shows some means for notification purposes. There is an 800 number, a WhatsApp number, an app where you can report according to your equipment availability. The phone helps, but there is just one phone number. It may be frequently blocked or saturated because of the calls. That's why we ask you to use the other methods. That may be WhatsApp or internet. These, so I ask you to scan this QR code where you can find a lot of information. In Senacica, you can also find information in the Screwworm webpage. This information is updated daily, and you can learn what is happening. When I'm told we do not know where this, I remain silent, but the answer will be you are not looking for this information. So there are places, there are the opportunities, the mechanisms to be updated about the situation related to the screwworm. So this is it. Thank you. My apologies because I understood that there were a lot of sound problems. Thank you. Yes, doctor. I don't know if it is your microphone because it was hard to listen to you, but Hopefully we could verify this for the other webinars because we still have some other webinars to come. Thank you so much. See how important the task of Dr. Armando is, as well as his staff. I would like to highlight this because sometimes there are people that tend to diminish the actions of the government. But I want to tell you that just few countries have such a professional and organized equipment and team like CPA, particularly with this so structured characteristic when the NESA is activated. So more staff has been recruited, but it is not enough for the size of the country. So the number of states that we have in the Mexican Republic and the number of diseases, now the newer screwworm, or cattle screwworm as we know it here in Mexico, has been taking a lot of time from Dr. Armando and his team. That we have bird flu, Newcastle disease suspect, or the prevention of the PPA and a classic PPA and the aphthous fever. In the world, there is a warning to pay attention to this, and everything similar to the aphthous fever. So it is a great team. I'm very proud of. Because we need to highlight what Senacica is doing and what the Mexican government is promoting and helping other countries. Doctors and his team support us a lot to take clear and strong and accurate messages to downtown and the country. So the CPA participation is important for webinars, for simulations, so they are always looked for. We need to highlight this and we need to feel proud of this. Another thing that makes me feel really proud is that I am seeing in the chat box where on one hand we have more than 500 people in this call. Thank you. I am seeing that there are professors and students from schools related to the agricultural sector. Agricultural technologic bachelor's courses. I have people from the General Directorate of Technological and Agricultural Bachelor's courses. Welcome. So let us to disseminate the message. Prevention is the most important thing. And I want to leave another message besides the two that we have it in Senacica and Ica. Without measure, no worms, and all together against the screwworm. These are our main logos, but there's another one. Since last year, we have insisted a lot on an event that we held in Torreon City related to larvae. Larvae that go down to ground and turn into pupas. When you're taking the sample of your animals, the suspicious sample, don't leave other larvae to go down, to bury down in the ground. Eliminate them, burn them, do whatever, but don't let a single one alive. So no larva should remain alive because they turn into pupas. And by being pupas, they can emerge as new flies. So we need to eliminate them. It is not enough just to removing the 10 or 15 that we need for the tube, for the prop. So take as much as possible, apply the systematic treatment of these animals till they remove the larvae. See, if you see one down, please kill it. destroy it, eliminate it. We don't want more flies. So cutting reducing or cutting the fly cycle and curing the ones are reducing all these practices that, or if they are not, if we can.
La presencia del gusano barrenador en las zonas en donde ya está. Y ojo con la movilización, ojo quienes muevan animales, verifiquen que no vayan con heridas o que ya estén sanas, perfectamente sanas, aquellas heridas que pudieron haber tenido. Es de todos, la obligación es de todos, no es solo de la CPA, no es solo del doctor Armando, no es solo del Senacica o solo del doctor Iván Espinosa y los porcicultores, ¿no? Es de todos, desde los estudiantes. Lleven el mensaje con sus compañeros, chicos.
Bring the message to everyone, take it home, to your neighbors, other people, professors, everyone who is joining us from the Ministry of Public Education, the general schools of livestock farming in Mexico and other countries. Bring the message. That's what it's about. Going on with the agenda, we're doing very well on time, so we will have a chance to have our activity at the end with more participation. If after Dr. Jacqueline Garavito shares her experience, and we are also hearing that we will be joined by Mr. Guillermo Maroto Villalobos as well from Maria Elida Livestock Farming in Costa Rica. So once you are connected, raise your hands just to be sure we can identify you as a panelist. That way we can be sure that you can address us. Along with Dr. Jacqueline Garavito, sharing their field experience. This is very important, not only hearing from people in an office or sitting at a desk. We need to hear from people who are out there on the field, seeing this every day, preventing it, and working to ensure it doesn't arrive in places where it hasn't. And yesterday we had a webinar on wildlife, and Dr. Garcia has mentioned this often, and I want to repeat it. If we eliminated it 30 to 40 years ago in Central America, the US and Mexico, why not again? Now that we have more technology, that we are more people working on this, where we have the previous knowledge. Of course, we can do. Of course, we need to have more of those infertile flies, but that is not the big remedy. The way to solve this is with information from official sources, and that's why we are having these sources, reliable sources, such as our veterinary authorities in every country, working with IICA, the USDA, and these events. So information from reliable official sources for the young people studying, continue to study, finish your training. Not alerts from non-reliable websites or something that someone told me that's not really working on this. No, you have to find the reliable sources, the people that know. That's why we have experts here. How else? Well, we can prevent this in any way we can. At your level, producers trying to avoid wounds. Some things are inevitable, some practices cannot be changed, but let's take all precautions. If you do have wounds through management of your animals, be sure that they are healing or cured. clean, and if it is already an open wound, just be sure that it doesn't grow larger. Provide all the attention and care with animal well-being in mind and humane treatment. If we ensure we work that way, we can eradicate this pest. And this is something we all have to do. It's not only the United States that has this plant, or only in Panama, where they have the only producing plant in the world. It's everyone's job. Even if I don't work as a swine producer, if I have a horse, a cat, a dog, or if I work with wildlife, or if I'm a veterinarian, looking at pets, it's my obligation. It's my obligation to be well informed, to know everything that governments are doing from the United States to Panama to eradicate this pest. And of course, we will. I now want to give the floor to Dr. Ivan Espinosa. He is executive president of Opormex and OIPOC. Go ahead, Ivan Espinosa, with your message. Thank you. Thank you, Doctor. It's very important to echo the words of Dr. Armando. His message is so important, coordinating our efforts between authorities, clinicians, producers. That's the way that we have been able to have many success cases and campaigns in swine production. We eradicated the screwworm. We also eradicated the classic swine fever and other diseases. So we have great success stories that help us reinforce this message. Yes, we will be able to eradicate this. We will be able to overcome this challenge. And by the way, this has really tested the capacities of all our infrastructure in Mexico. And it reminds us and gets us really thinking about this when working on these groups, where we have that large responsibility of addressing this health emergency due to parasitosis. With that, it's a way to learn, and hopefully we will never have to come back to it. But if we were to be faced with a disease that has another nature, not through parasites, we are also ready to face it because we are prepared. In our organization of Mexican swine producers, we have worked very specifically trying to build capacities for certification in our production units. A fundamental part of this, as Dr. Armando said, is animal transport and mobilization. In swine, we have very active trade throughout the country, trade in animals that go to the slaughterhouse. And also, given the nature of the species, it is also exploited or produced in confined quarters. So they're being supervised from their birth. And so that helps us because we can be on top of, we can identify any potential risks. And that's why these types of courses and training are so strategically important. We should also say that the low-scale swine production is a segment where it's difficult to have access to a professional association or a veterinary doctor. So it's really important to train them as well so they can learn to identify how a wound looks when it's been infested. And so they can also help us with reporting and treatment to help containment. With the dispersal of the pest, these animals don't tend to move too far. But the proper treatment, as we heard by the doctor, Camposano, and just to be able to help control and eliminate any worms, any larvae we might find. That is our collaborative work, and hearing the official information that, of course, is absolutely relevant. Hearing things from the people who are working on these matters also in other countries. So I think that on behalf of our producer organization, we are constantly in contact with the animal health units to understand that anything that is carried out, any actions undertaken, have this support from producers to ensure that the disease does not continue its spread, and to tackle this emergency, this health emergency due to screwworm. So again, an invitation to all swine producers joining us today and anyone who will hear this recording to please be in contact with your different associations and organizations of producers, because there's specific actions being undertaken. There are also different centers and facilities to help Opormex in its identification with different veterinarians that can help us. They're being trained, they're learning how to use the platforms for the national livestock system to issue these certificates that might be required by our authorities to ensure there's correct transport of animals while they are being commercialized. So just as a reminder, please follow us and keep up to date through our social media. We're always posting information on mobilization. We're very thankful for all the support we've received from USDA, ICA, and all the different institutions with which we have close ties, trying to ensure we find the best strategies to face this challenge and keep going forward. Thank you so much, Doctor. I would also like to say that we are being joined by field staff of the program Sembrando Vida. I'm very glad to hear that. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining our efforts. It's always comforting to know that we are reaching those we want to reach. We want to reach the field, not just schools and offices. We're also being joined by so many people from different producers associations and regional or local swine producer organizations. We have the Swine Health Committee from Sonora, Michoacán, Nuevo León. We also have people from the state governments in Acambay, State of Mexico, MIDA from Panama, Sitacora, Michoacán. So many people. Dr. Ana Elena Méndez, good morning. The Chiapas Autonomous University, Alexis Mendoza, the Secretariat of Rural Development, Itzel Paredes. So we have so many people joining us from Querétaro. I've already given you some methods on how to destroy larvae. Just be sure that they are fully eliminated. Ciudad Madera, Chihuahua, the Association of Swine Producers Querétaro. All the presentations will be saved. The whole webinar will be available on the YouTube page for ICA. You can find it there. I think we have the option of saving it just as any other YouTube video. So please do so. If you need any specific training as well, for example, our colleagues from Sembrando Vida, if you think a type of webinar like this could be provided to your beneficiaries, let me know. I will go ahead and write my email in the chat box so that we can continue collaborating. We might not go everywhere in person, we are not able to, but these events, these virtual events are there for a reason. We want to reach more people. Okay, I've written my email in the chat box, and now let's have the presentation by Dr. Jacqueline Garavito. We are doing very well with our time. And after that, we will have the presentation from Costa Rica, Mr. Guillermo Maroto. So, Dr. Garavito, please go ahead. First, introducing yourself, and then you can go ahead with your presentation. Thank you. And we will then give the floor to Mr. Guillermo Maroto from Costa Rica. Go ahead, Dr. Garavito.
Muy buenos días a todos. Mi nombre es Jacqueline Garavito.
Good morning, everyone. I am Jacqueline Garavito. I am a veterinarian. I have experience in community work and animal production systems, and I'm from Guatemala. Today, I would like to share with you what we have lived on the field regarding the screwworm in swine, and how this has affected producers, but also especially how health information and education, as well as joint work from different institutions, can make a difference to control the disease. So I will turn my camera off just because I don't want to have any issues with my connectivity, and then I'll share my presentation. Just let me know if you're seeing it on. We see it, but it's not in presentation mode.
Okay. Muy bien.
Ahora sí se ve.
Now we do. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. Bueno, muy buenos días a todos.
Good morning, everyone.
Compartir con ustedes esta información.
The goal of sharing the information with you today is just to let you know about what is happening on the field. Production systems are very important, and and in this picture I'm sharing a lady in our rural areas in their backyard farm or backyard system, and this condition is an economic resource. It's a part of the food security chain. So part of this, the experiences I'm sharing is what we've lived personally on the field and through collaboration of technicians of our screwworm program in Guatemala.
Es importante para mí que sepan que todo esto lo están viviendo.
It's important for me to share that these are things that our producers are living. They're seeing it whether in their backyards, in semi-intensive production. We will share some of the wounds, treatment, prevention, and control that have helped in our case.
Antes de continuar con esto, es importante para cada uno de nosotros.
Before continuing, it's important for all of us to remember, either if you're producers, students, professionals, we must understand how important it is to be very aware of the biological cycle of the Cochlimia hominivorax, because this gives us the opportunity of preventing, taking actions to prevent and also control the disease. Very importantly, this was already mentioned by Dr. Armando. I want to highlight it and underline it again. We should know how long it takes for the larva to live in the wound and how afterwards it continues its cycle, trying to find the soil. He said that in the soil or in the ground, but we've had field experiences of finding pupae in shoes, in wood chips. We also tested to see if they would be able to continue their stage in Lyme, and they have been able to. So now, why, you would ask yourselves, how does the fly detect a wound and why? Well, it's based on chemical signals through highly specialized chemical reception. And the main stimuli that attract a fly are the smell of wounded tissue or live exposed tissue, serum or blood, and volatile compounds that are released by bacteria from the wound, such as ammonia, sulfur, and volatile fatty acids. This is done through a biological mechanism. The fly has very sensitive olfactory receptors in their antennae and other areas, so they can detect gradients of smell in the air. And they are flying against the wind, so they can receive the smell. So to summarize, the fly does not see the wound first. It smells it in a distance, and then it confirms this visually by approaching. Now, this information is important because we must understand the detection radius that flies have on wounds. The fly can detect wounds around it from 1 to 3 kilometers away. That is the radius in which it can detect wounds. So it's important to understand that, because if in my farm I have, I'm having a bird, I'm working with neutering or any other activity as the sort, the fly will be approaching. This radius can be even broader when we have open spaces with enough hot, humid air. This, of course, is also influenced by the size and type of wound, the temperature and humidity level. We've seen that warm temperatures lead to higher volatilization, so that's where you will find most cases. This also depends on the direction and speed of the wind and the presence of a bacterial infection. As you can see in the pictures, producers in this area, regardless of how the system is organized, whether it's backyard, semi-intensive, or intensive, the idea is to have several offspring and to turn this into meat for human consumption. But of course, for that, we have specific zootechnical practices that are inevitable. So before I show more of the wounds that we're showing, I want to again highlight these features of the fly, just so that you remember, whenever you're going to practice any of these, you have to be aware that you are at a higher risk of finding these wounds if you don't take the right preventive measures after having done these kinds of things. Here we see a small pig, and if you notice it, it already has worms in the first picture. In the second picture, there's a bad practice. You see that they added a violet type substance, but the technician went to supervise, and there were live larvae, and had to be eliminated. These were shared by the field technician, Noe Arias, who works against or to prevent the screwworm in the field. So we're seeing this very often in inadequately managed castration, in wounds after fights, in lesions due to deficiencies in the facilities, and in navels and piglets. This is a preventable disease, but it does evolve very rapidly. And if not, if we don't control it, we will have many losses. I will share some other lesions and wounds. This is what we are seeing in the field, in the vulva. If you look at it, there's a structure. So is in a cage. There's equipment with or facilities with surfaces that can lead to wound formation and that lead to these types of lesions. Without correct management, we run that risk. This is a wound in a vulva as well. If you look at the amount of blood for this, so it's probably that she just went through birth. If we had to be careful during birthing, we have to be even more careful today to give even more care, because the blood and secretions are always there and constant. By this I mean the presence of bacteria that in these types of wounds emit ammonia or sulfur, these types of volatile substances. You can see there's already an infection and the number of larvae. Again, most of these cases we're seeing in females during pregnancy and maternity. Until we come to this, obviously, this was a case where the wound was not so deep. The technician could provide care, treatment, cure it, and cleaning the wound. But as we heard already, that's not the end of it. If the owner does not train the staff in the farm on specific supervision for 5 days or more until you see a scarring and healing of the wound, this female could even be slaughtered in the end, because if in 2 days this wound in the vulva does not get treatment and follow-up treatment, it will again start looking bloody or attract new flies. This is another case. If you look at it, the surface is very rugged. This is a higher weight animal, and the very small wound in the hoof, if you notice, already has inflammation. So this case may have been where the animal already had some kind of a wound, and it was drained or started oozing, and then you see the worms. This is part of the supervision in the production systems. We've had several different campaigns, and so he has been going out to treat these cases. This is quite typical in backyard production. A female that is tied up. If you notice that she has a chain, there's some kind of a rubber structure to avoid the wound, but it's too tight. And of course, because of the strength of the animal, it cut the skin and muscle. And again, we had worms there. So providing medication. You see abscesses here. Again, facilities This had some problems here, and when we checked, they had worms on the backside, and there we have a piglet, a 1-month-old piglet, where there was a cement corral to ensure they were in better conditions. And 2 days afterwards, it started limping, and when it was checked, there were 1 or 2 day old larvae there. If you notice, the fly does not differentiate. It doesn't care how old the animal is, how large, or the weight of the animal. It is there where there is a wound, where there's secretions, where there's oozing, where there's a process that is not receiving follow-up or treatment. All these cases have happened because first we have late detection. It also has to do with lack of hygiene, a high presence of flies, and of course advanced cases of myiasis, worms, and others.
Esto es el impacto en la seguridad alimentaria en las comunidades. O sea, estamos teniendo esto a todo nivel. Esto es un marrano. Un marrano que va para el mercado. Un marrano que ya no va a ser parte de la cadena de la seguridad alimentaria en la comunidad. Obviamente, este marrano se tuvo que sacrificar. Quiero ponerles este. Esto también. Una camada de lechones en los cuales se descolmilló. 8 lechones resultaron con miasis. Y si se dieron cuenta en la imagen, ahí tenemos al personal del Ministerio de Agricultura en extensión dando asistencia a esta señora que tiene esta crianza de cerdos. ¿Qué está ocasionando? Obviamente.
What is this causing? This is a productive impact because there are weight loss, minor growth, reduction of the value of the animal. I have seen in markets where there are animals with scars or the application of colors like violet or spray. The buyers automatically reduce the price, and the terrible thing is that we are having a high mortality rate of pigs in communities. So having a direct impact in food safety because we have a less availability of meat, economic losses in animals, family consumption.
Okay.
Well, I want to get to this point. The importance of checking the animals. Why this is absolutely basic, because we're going to detect on time myiasis, worm colony. If you see on the arrow, if in the morning you detect this, you can apply the larvicide and interrupt the biologic cycle of the screwworm, just with a supervision in this area. But we can go backward. How is it possible that you have an animal with this wound? That does not occur from day to night. This is the reflection. Why do I let that in my production site? We have animals with wounds. That won't occur because of management. In 24 hours, if the animal is on a production system and the cost or where weather is high, we have seen that the larvae close at 12 hours later.
Bueno, vamos a lo práctico. ¿Qué es lo que está pasando en el campo?
So what is happening at the field level? So they hatch very soon. So we needed to use methods, and let me talk about what has worked. This is the case of a female on a rural area, a cement pen, 15 days after birth. So we're called because the female has blood, blood secretion.
Y está muy inquieta.
And
y está botando unos gusanitos.
And we are seeing worms coming out from her.
¿Qué hicimos?
What did we do?
¿Qué es lo que nos está funcionando?
What is working?
Con el afán de curar estos animales.
In order to cure these animals,
Se estaban sacando las larvas vivas.
at the beginning we were extracting live larvae without controlling those that fall down. But currently, the market has products, larvicides, contact larvicides.
Contienen propofur,
they
tener cipermetrina,
may have cypermethrin or any other product of contact. So the experience, my experience, and in order to interrupt the cycle of the screwworm and to prevent worms falling down,
es importante que
it is important that this
explotación
that we have this concrete, but in other places, these larvae that are falling down go pupas, and in 7-10 days they emerge as adult flies. So the procedure we are following is applying a liquid larvicide, so allowing to act 3 to 5 minutes. Why? To kill the larvae that are at the surface, and when you cover the wound, the largest number of larvae that are really deep can emerge. Each larva creates cavitary wounds, and the larva can go down 10 to 12 centimeters. So on the cavity. So it is just applying the larvicide, and the external part is not enough. So we need to eliminate this. The purpose is to kill these ones over here, and that all of them, all of those inside that come out without the need that we take them out and without damaging the tissue. So just wait 3 to 5 minutes, and that will facilitate the cleanliness, that will promote quick scaring.
Que acá ya tenemos las moscas,
we have a quick healing. So you can see here, these are not on the skin anymore, so it is easier to eliminate them. I'm taking the sample, 3 to 5 up to 8 larvae, and I'm confirming and verifying that they do not fall down alive into the surface. Here, we need a container, as Dr. Armando explained, and as commented before. So we need to be really careful. We, owners or technical people, everyone taking care of these cases, need to be really careful to interrupt the cycle of larvae. A single one should not fall down, because they will become puppies, and they will turn into adult flies, and they will be circulating in our production system. Treatment of amaiasis. Those are the steps for that. what we are doing, what has work is to clean the area around the wound, to have a broad view of the wound, the length and the deepness, and to apply the larvicide in order to kill
¿Usted vio el precio
the
de la
larvae that
salud?
are deep down, to wait the necessary time, 4 to 5 minutes, to collect the dead larvae for sample taking, and to eliminate the rest, to disinfect the wound with soap or disinfectant such as chlorhexidine that affects less the affected area or the muscle, and to take care of the wound for 5 days. And this taking care of the wound, I'm referring to check it in the morning and in the afternoon. Morning and afternoon. This is a systematic task, but with that, we'll be sure that the case will end with a pretty good healing. And the most important thing, and I believe that this is what we have to do if we want to control this disease, to take the sample and to report it to the technical or to professional responsible in the countries, in the programs in your countries. Why? Because we said that the control is not going to take place only in the case of sterile flies. The first task and the easiest task we have is the notification, because by identifying the area where the outbreaks are taking place, the local authorities, the national programs can identify the area with coordinates, and this information could be useful to make decisions and to take local actions. And whenever we have sterile flies available, the places identified are going to be those who will be prioritized. That's why this step is very important. Although you have already cured or healed, that you have in control, you need to have this contact with the program in your country. What not to do? The don'ts. So at the field level, we have seen things, believe me, people are applying products such as gasoline, thinner, formol, hot dashes. They will kill the larvae, of course. They will do that. And what about the irritation that they are causing in the muscle where this cavity wound existed? If the purpose is to kill the larva, they'll do it, but they are also delaying the healing process as such. So there are people using gasoline, diesel, thinner without measuring how deep the wound is, the size of the animal. They kill the larva and they intoxicate the animals. So full loss. Because for using irritant products not indicated for this. In the market, after 1 year and 4 months, the countries have seen the presence of the screwworm. There are several products on the market that are circulated there that are being quite effective. The problem is that we do not know how to use them, or we are wasting our resources because we do not know the right indications on how to make the best use of this product. This is the most important thing I have seen. The second one is even technical people at the beginning, because this disease acted as an earthquake. We were not ready. The doctor talked about generation of professionals where we did not see this in our courses. I am included there. I didn't have this experience, but in order to remove the larva to do the healing, we want to take the larva out alive. While we have products that we can apply, then with 3 to 5 minutes of waiting, we do not need to remove larva by larva. So they come to the surface and it is easier for us to extract them. So my recommendation is this 3 to 5 minutes that you can take care, that you have to wait for this to happen, will give you the best result, the best healing result.
Esto es en cuanto a...
This is related to removing the larvae. I have also seen at the field level that people with a stick and a structure with a tip introduce it into the animal in order to remove the larva, and they are cleaning the cows, they are cleaning any animal with worms, and they throw the larva down into the ground without knowing that in 12 or 15 days they will have flies again and reinfestation in their production systems. The application of larvicides, this healing do not take 3 minutes or 10 minutes. We need to take time, to devote time, and it is very important to do it. Why? Because the full recovery of the animal depends on that. So by applying a larvicide with the products included, will kill the larvae. The mistake is not to remove the larvae. Why? Because in 2 days, those larvae are decomposed and there's going to be a blood secretion again, and that will attract the flies attracted by the issuance of these volatile gases I was talking about. Another mistake, not to check the animals during the healing time. This is going to be a daily task that will occupy people in the production systems and the responsible parties. So these courses are important because if you are the owner of this facility, you need to take care and train your staff. This is not science, rock science. You do not need a veterinarian in the farm to heal these wounds. When you are trained and you can transfer this information to your farm staff, the things become easier. Why? Because these people will checking systematically, so we will prevent this type of problems. So, not reporting or not notifying is an issue as well. Why? Because for institutions, for programs, in the countries, if you do not report, if you do not notify, how are they going to take action? How the technical expert can know and go to your community to provide training, to help, to provide treatments if this is not reported. Technical people at the field level, believe me, lack time. Why? Because there are communities and places where they have to travel a lot. So I repeat, there is no lot of dissemination material and for people to get trained. So if you notify and you report, it is easier for the technical person and the professional person to go to your community, to organize your community, to organize the workers in your farm, to train them. Why? And be careful. This is the most important thing. Pay attention. Because where we have animals with the screwworm, we are exposing the staff living in the farm or that is around your neighbors, vulnerable people with wounds, surface wounds, ones like circulation problem, people, diabetic people, people with the hits at the head level. Those are vulnerable people for the fly to get there. And this is the most important thing. This is a zoonotic disease that is affecting not only human people, but also animals. So it is very, very important to emphasize the report and the notification activities. Prevention and control. Prevention. Daily checks. If you can check twice a day, you are preventing the situation. If you find something you can apply, larvicide or spray to stop the cycle. Cleaning the wounds, disinfection, of course, fly control. The doctor mentioned the type of traps. In some places here, traps are included liver elixir, and this is working very well because it attracts the female fly, and the waste management, of course. And with control, this is based in insecticides, fumigations, systemic applications, topic applications, and fumigation with products like hypermetrins in the area where there have been cases. Was already mentioned that part of the control is the technique to release sterilized maize. It is not available. So while we get this, our obligation as farmers or professionals, our students, so we are obliged to have, it is our obligation to have this information, to share it, because this way we were going to succeed to reduce the presence of these cases in communities. For me, sanitary education is vital, absolutely vital. If we do not transfer this education to farmers and families, this is not going to progress. We mentioned the eradication of the disease that took place 30 years ago, more or less. And nowadays, if we don't do this, we are not clearly and practically transmitting. And they talk about the languages. The local language is very important because capacity building will not going to take place in the communities if we do not speak the native languages. And this is a reflection that I would like to live for everyone, particularly in the porcine sector, in semi-intensive and backyard system. The control of the screwworm is not just a sanitary issue. It is about daily management and responsibility, systematically. What will make the difference? Checking animals, treating once on time to keep the cleaning, a good cleanliness in the facilities, and to apply simple biosafety measures that we already have in our production systems. When this is respected, the risk will be significantly reduced. For me, I am in communities, I am in the rural area, sanitary education, practical sanitary education, this type of courses is really important because when this has to be disseminated at all levels. Communication in local language, I repeat, coordinated work among farmers, technical people, and institutions. And I'm referring not only institutions that are in agriculture or animal health. This needs to involve one single institution is not going to be able to control the disease. So we need to join efforts. Ministry of Education, Ministry of Public Health, Ministry of Education. Why? because they are a dissemination support network for the information to get at all levels, from to children in elementary schools, universities, leaders, local leaders, municipal authorities, and higher authorities. Why? Because this is a zoonosis that each citizen in our countries needs to cooperate with in order to control it.
Y como mensaje final,
And my final message, the call is a concrete call.
prevenir es más efectivo.
Preventing is more effective and cheaper than correcting.
Fortalezcamos las buenas prácticas.
Let's strengthen the best practices today in order to protect production and animal health tomorrow.
Esta imagen,
this image says more than our expectations in the porcine production system. Thank you very much. We thank you, Dr. Jacqueline Garavito, for your participation and your messages, very important messages, reinforcing what we have said before. Now let's welcome, please, Mr. Guillermo Maroto. First of all, I'll ask my colleague Sasha Treyes if you're here to introduce Mr. Maroto. My colleague Sasha Treyes, go ahead. She is the expert of the agricultural health and food healthy and quality. Hello, good morning. Thanks, Rocio. Thanks again for inviting Costa Rica to participate in this such important event. I have been listening the participation of everyone, and I'm very pleased to introduce Mr. Guillermo Maroto Villalobos. He is a porcine farmer and of Ganadería María Elida. And as a colleague from Mexico said, in Costa Rica, most production is porcine, technified production. There's less production of family or backyard production. So that makes that the disease was developed differently. And we have less cases than those who have occurred in bovines. Guillermo will talk about the experience in the sector and how they have addressed the disease, although I repeat, they have had very few cases. Go ahead, Guillermo, floor is yours. Morning, hope you're doing well. First of all, I'm thankful for this invitation. I have been listening, and believe me, I have taken notes of things that we may improve. Basically, as Sasha said, we have had just few cases, but we have seen that the prevention aspect is basic. As Dr. Jacqueline said, very early, it's important to see the wounds very early and to determine if there are worms. And daily reviews, daily checks are important. At the end of the day, this is control, cheap control, and quite effective. I mean, to check in the morning and in the afternoon in maternity areas where this may occur, may most occur. What are the cases we have had so far? Castration issues, battles, even pigs in maternity. They have a wound because of the time they were feeding or breastfeeding. So the worm takes advantage of all this. And simple things that have worked is how to keep the pens clean. If we don't manage this appropriately, the worm issue starts proliferating. To avoid clean, to do deep cleaning. When we have dead animals, placenta, or any waste of this kind, we need to eliminate it as fast as possible instead of having this exposed for several hours. That has worked pretty well for us. We have also used traps for flies in general. And then the check aspect, so to see wounds, to see if the smell is not if there is bad smell. So the doctor talked about the deepness of the wound, because we have seen these cases where in very little time the worm, I didn't know that it can get up to 10 centimeters, but I knew that the cavities were big enough. In our case, we use the surgery figure to extract all the worms. Also important, if they fall down, we don't have to, better not to leave them in the ground, because in some days later we will have a bigger issue. Also, we have used, larvicides have worked for us. The doctor said, and I took note, because normally we were removing the worms and then we use the larvicide, and not as the doctor commented, to wait 3 to 5 minutes. Interesting thing. In the my doubt now is if in the case of, when we do the sampling, that we have given the sampling to local entities. I don't know if we can apply larvicides. In this specific case, normally we remove it, we put it into a bag, and then we apply the larvicide. At the end of the day, the follow-up issue is the most important thing. The problem is not serious if we correct it on time. If we leave it, if there's no checks, if the staff is not trained, things can worsen. We are near the northern area of the country, near Nicaragua, and this has affected pigs in the area, but the affectation has not been so heavy. But this is not the case of the cattle. In the cattle, we have had seen more cases. Something is that is very important, and we leave it aside for different reasons. The reporting aspect. At the end of the day, the government or the entities, the local entities, how are they going to be able to help us if they do not know where the worm are present? I believe this is important, that we need to train, that we help entities that can establish the areas where the worm is present, and this way to be more effective when controlling it. The biosafety, as the doctor said, we are already working with that, so it's not going to be hard for us. The cleanliness aspect, the fumigation, we did this, or we have been doing this already. So we want to reinforce errors that we had, and we consider they are basic to reduce the country, to remove the problem. So to leave larvae inside. And this is going to be a problem, because healing is not going to be as fast as desired. So we need to inform the staff the time they have to invest for the wound to be without larvae. So they have to consider this and analyze it. When there is a wound, in this case on a maternity section, to intensify the checks and the other pigs and piglets. The revision is important. Something that seems basic, but makes a lot of sense, is not to use domestic remedies. It has happened to us. We turn really creative, and the solutions already exist. So there are effective solutions in the market. So we do not need to invent or to rediscover water, because the products that exist in the market are quite effective. In a matter of days, the wound heals and the animal improves. In my own experience, we have not had a lot of mortality because of this reason. But so I was asking this morning, and 1 month ago, we had something, but from there we have not seen any cases. Basically, this is what I want to tell you about the situation here and the control applied.
Seguir en esto, ¿verdad? Que al final es un tema de que si lo hacemos de manera preventiva, es barato, como decía la
So if we work preventively, it's cheaper, as the doctor was saying, and if we don't, it could easily escalate. Thank you so much for the time, and let's all continue working together to ensure we fight this as soon as possible.
Muchísimas gracias, señor
Thank you
Maroto.
so much, Mr. Maroto.
Qué bueno que también usted
It's also
comparte sus
good to hear that
experiencias,
you're
pero que
sharing
se
your
queda
experiences
también
and that you have learned
aprendizaje,
from what
de lo que ha
has
habido
been
desde
shared
Guatemala,
today
¿no?
in the
Sí,
webinar
por
and
favor, amigos,
from Guatemala and
ayúdenos
others.
a
So
llevar
again,
este
everyone,
mensaje de
please
no
help
utilizar
us to
productos
take that
que van a causar
message
más daño
and
al
drive it
animal.
home. Don't use products that will harm the animal
Economía
further,
se va a ver todavía
and
más
your
dañada.
economy will
Bien, le
also
agradecemos
be
mucho, señor
harmed.
Maroto, sobre
Thank you
todo
very much, Mr. Maroto.
por la premura
Especially because it was a bit
participación.
last minute to ask
Agradecemos
you
su
to participate.
disponibilidad y
So
compartir
thank you for your
estas
availability
experiencias.
and for sharing
Pues
your
sigamos,
experience.
como bien menciona usted,
So again, let's
todos,
continue, as you said, all of us working together,
primero
trying
prevenir,
to
bueno, si ya
prevent
tenemos el
as much as
problema,
we
pues
can, and if we have
erradicarlo
the
lo más
problem
pronto
already, to
posible de
eradicate it
nuestras
as soon as
instalaciones.
possible
Muchas
from
gracias.
our
Bien,
facilities.
vamos a
Thank you very
pasar
much.
ahora
We now have
al tema
some
de las preguntas.
time for
Ya el
questions.
doctor Claudio
Dr.
Marconi
Claudio
les ha
Marconi
puesto en el
has
chat,
already
la liga, el
given
aviso
the
que vamos a
link
tener una
through the chat
encuesta.
box, just to let you
Esperemos
know
que
that we
nos
will be
ayuden a
having
resolver. Es muy
a
rápida,
survey.
ya
If
no
you could
les lleva
please fill it
unos
out
5 minutos.
later. It's really
Es
fast,
muy
no more than 5
rápida y
minutes.
esto nos
It's
va a
really a
ayudar
brief
sobre
survey, but
todo
this
a
helps us
saber qué más
to
tenemos que
also
hacer,
know what else
tanto los
we
organismos
should do as
internacionales como
international organizations such as ICA,
los sponsors
but
o
also the
el gobierno que nos
sponsors, the
ayudan
governments that
con
are
los
helping
recursos y
with
el gobierno
resources
nacional en cada uno
and
de los
national
países.
governments in
Entonces
each of your
pueden ir, por
countries.
favor,
So if you could
respondiendo
please go
esta
ahead and
encuesta
fill out
y
this
vamos a ir a las
survey,
preguntas y
we'd really
respuestas.
appreciate it.
La
And let's look
mayoría
at
estoy viendo
questions and
son para el
answers.
doctor
Most of them
Armando
are
García, que
for Dr.
todavía
Armando
nos
Garcia, who
acompaña.
is still with
Voy a
us.
ir leyendo
So I will read
algunas que me
them
parecen
out,
las más
some that
relevantes,
I believe are the most
otras ya se
relevant.
han respondido
Others
en el
have been
chat o
answered
en
already in
la
the chat
sección de
or
preguntas y
through the
respuestas.
Q&A section.
Bien, José Manuel Alemán Betancourt.
So Jose Manuel Alemán
Utilizar la
Betancourt is
tecnología y
asking,
la
why
inteligencia
not use
artificial
technology
para
and
evidenciar la
AI
presencia del gusano
to evidence
barrenador
the
en la
presence of the
movilización de
screwworm
cerdos
in
en
mobilization
lugar de
of
medidas
swine
recaudatorias
instead
y
of
reacción de corrupción con el cobro
other
para lograr
options
esta
such as charging
movilización?
for it because it's open to corruption?
Bueno, aquí necesitamos corroborar
We
mucha de la
need
información.
to first corroborate much of the information. This happens frequently that they tell me that we should use AI. But in medicine, the use of artificial intelligence is only informational. It will never be replacing the presence of a physician, of a medical doctor. And it works with images. The images we have of the screwworm are amplified with an electronic microscope. So I cannot provide AI to tell me whether that is a screwworm with the subjectivity of a wound that may or may not be infected. It's very difficult. You need not to look at the presence of larvae, but larvae of the screwworm with a specific detection of the morphology. And for that, we need to do it manually. GPS is being used for livestock mobilization to look at tracking origin and destination. We are doing that. In destination, we recover the GPS. We are also trying to attract dogs and incorporate other technologies that, unfortunately, when it was eradicated, this was not continued. So we're doing all the activities we can to continue tracking. And corruption, unfortunately, if someone wants to skip the rules, they will do so. We can't find a mechanism that's 100% efficient against that, that will guarantee there will be no corruption at all, nothing that anyone will be able to skip or overturn. So I think cases of corruption are present in any country. They will continue, but you can't really find a mechanism to guarantee that that no one will ever want to do everything, or will not want to skip the rules, sorry. So we are incorporating all the research we can to ensure we have different alternatives to this, but mobilization transport is a very difficult issue to tackle. And again, if someone has the purpose of doing something wrong, they will do so. Exactly, doctor. Corruption needs two ways, who is looking to corrupt the system and the one who allows it. So let's ensure we avoid this. This will not help us eradicate or protect what we want. And especially in the communities and in these types of locations where they're not necessarily participating in faraway areas, but let's avoid this. Services are costly, as the doctor said, for Senasica. For all governments, there's a cost. Having all this staff working in communities, it's a cost governments are undergoing, and for some activities, they only receive the support of certain international organizations such as ICA, but not for all actions. So producers, associations, they're bearing these costs, and let's avoid that because we have to improve. Another question we have, states that are in the buffer zones, and this is a question by Francisco Maldonado, states that are in the buffer zones that have active cases that are increasing, do they still maintain the same status? Yes, for now, regionalization is maintained under the same status. I can comment because I'm being asked very specifically on Mexico. I'd rather not share only information on Mexico because we have other countries joining us. But for swine, 1,403 cases, accumulated cases, is the number of pork affected. The most affected state is Oaxaca. Chiapas and Veracruz are following. Oaxaca has 950, Chiapas 274. The next state with a significant distribution is Yucatan. And then we will have a series of cases to one only in Colima, for example. In states that have presence but are in buffer zones, there's incursion of the fly going forward. And on many occasions, there's not great repercussion. In Nuevo León, we had a case reported through mobilization. It was controlled. So we have protocols for incursions and for affected areas. The tasks are basically the same, but are handled under different concepts. Regionalization occurs through document control and the requirements for the affected area or the buffer zone. And of course, if it's from an affected area to a free area, they can't go directly through. It has to go through the buffer zone. It will have to meet certain criteria, but it has important regulation.
Perfecto, doctor. Muchas gracias.
Wonderful, doctor. Thank you. There's also great interest in having access to the course by the commission, the CPA. So I'm adding that in the chat box and in the Q&A box. Send us your email. With only 5 participants, it's enough. If we have 5 students, professors, veterinarians, biologists, no matter the profession or audience, this is open to all. It is a bit technical, but not too technical. So it is open to anyone, and only 5 participants is needed to open that virtual classroom so that you can take the course. For some of the actions by Senasica, it will be very important. I will read out some other questions. How do you handle waste after having cleaned the cattle? Is there wait time? We also have more questions from Mr. Carlos Coruca. The dispersal, is it specific with land cases? This is something the doctor already explained. When do you use other techniques? Go ahead, doctor. I think that the spread or dispersal was clear, that we're not doing it in crates. It's aerial dispersal with emerged flies emerging in Mexico in our centers, and then they are spread. That technique is the one being used currently. What we've been able to do in some situations is land release, and it gives us better results with aerial release. If you remember, when they were released in crates, some people destroyed the crates, and so it didn't necessarily ensure that they were released, or because they emerge in the farm, some might have their wings still wet, and they're easy prey to amphibians or certain birds. They have natural enemies, and that's why we decided to do the aerial dispersal. What was the other question, if you remind me? What to do about waste? When you clean or bathe all the livestock, do you record wait times? For the swine, if they're going to, if we find an animal with a screwworm, it goes back to the point of origin. Is in the whole shipment. It's a sanction, not just the animal, but the whole shipment is returned to ensure that they don't try to omit any steps. All the shipment has to be returned, and we should only have animals without screwworm, because if not, the whole shipment could be returned to the point of origin with all the expenses involved. This is a coercive measure, and the animal at that point would go through a legal process, and it would be treated. The facility or that shipment, those animals that are identified will be controlled. It's not quarantine, but they will go under control, and that cannot be shipped until the wound is fully healed. That's why, again, it's important to inspect your animals, even if they're going to the slaughterhouse, to check that everything is fine, looking that they don't have any wounds. That's one of the control mechanisms. It's not necessarily cleaned and nothing else is applied. Thank you, doctor. We have a great comment here by Mario Rodriguez. At the Sonora Swine Producer Committee, we have worked with CPA to train veterinarians, as well as our activities, census in family farms and backyard farms. And we've also talked about the screwworm campaign for bovine. Yes, and they've also given out leaflets. Wonderful. That's how it should work. Now, doctor, there's another question that comes repeatedly from an anonymous participant. What's the specificity of the diagnosis test to confirm the infestation by the screwworm? Go ahead. I'm guessing he's asking about the telediagnosis method. For reasons of time, because I didn't have much time in the presentation, I didn't specify that these samples have to be sent. The CPA veterinarian that sends the images to the biologist keeps them and then forwards them to confirm at the lab. All samples are kept safe. We've had some non-conformities from some shipments that have been retained and returned because they had the worm. And looking at the sample, and we re-verify it at the lab. I'm saying this because we've had 100% of the cases through telediagnosis are confirmed, they're corroborated and confirmed in the lab when we get the sample or retention, because the interpretation is morphological, it's entomological. We're not running a PCR test, we're not doing anything other than entomologist's interpretation. So if the sample is well taken and the images, because as I said, it's not a cell phone picture. No, it's not possible. I need the stereoscopic microscope. I need to fully identify the features of that larva. And it's the entomologist who is the one saying this. As the doctor said, if they apply gasoline or others, and say that the larvae are burned, you would still have to dissect it. And that would mean that the diagnosis is delayed. If the samples are altered and we cannot get the right images, then you would have to wait until it gets to the lab to find a way to verify that. And that takes up to 2 days. Thank you, doctor. We have a question. Well, there's several for Dr. Garavito. First, a comment by Dr. Fernando Fogter. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Taking samples of larvae, should it be done before the medicine to eliminate parasites? This makes it difficult to scientifically identify it. So if you could answer Dr. Garavito, and then Dr. Armando can reinforce to ensure that we answer.
Okay. En mi experiencia,
in my experience, we are healing or treating wounds once you have the worms there. So it's not that we first apply any kind of deworming medication because we already have. It seems that your video is frozen, Dr. Garavito. While we wait for Dr. Garavito to return, because she might be in a remote area. Well, I will talk about what we use in Mexico and the protocol for treatment that we use in Mexico, because we use different products. I won't give the commercial names, you know, the products, they It's not really an issue if you're doing the local treatment. There is a blue tint, but in the vial it gets cleaned off. If not, the lab itself cleans it out and they can identify it. There's no problem. Adding the ivermectin or other treatments that we're using, some for mobilization, ivermectin for mobilization because it has a shorter residue time, and we don't necessarily want to treat the animal. It's just the time the mobilization will take to ensure that the animal will not be affected. Or lovaremetin that we use in bovine does not have the immediate action. We just want to treat the animal. Treatment of wounds and sampling is simultaneous because the products we apply facilitate larvae coming out, the deeper larvae. They're the ones we want because they're the best samples. And because that facilitates this, there's no problem. You put them in alcohol and they already are cleaned out a bit, but if not in the lab, they are fully cleaned out to look at it in the microscope. Thank you, Doctor. Sorry, we gave the floor to Dr. Armando because we lost you for a second. I'm guessing you might be in a remote area. There's another question for you. What is your opinion on doramurphins? Injectable, but for topical use. From Alexis Mendoza Galdames. So applying the medication with a syringe to the affected area. Or could it be that smaller larvae would remain inside the wound? Would you have to wait for the withdrawal time? Well, there's several questions in one there. In places where you don't have a larvicide, I have had the experience of people applying that on the worms. They have applied ivermectin, which is intramuscular use. They've applied on the area where you see the myiasis, and it does work. Obviously, it's a lower dosage. It's not a very high dose. I think it would not have any withdrawal time because you cleaned it out, remove the larvae, take the samples, and you have to then clean the wound itself. So there's no withdrawal time there. And importantly, as Dr. Armando said, using macrocyclic drugs, well, you have to remember this. If the animal is going to the slaughterhouse, soon they will have a withdrawal time. During my exposure, I was not able to apply treatment as a prescription, if you will, because the indiscriminate use of antibiotics was a problem and of this type of product. So this should be focused on prevention to remove or reduce costs. So don't use antibiotics indiscriminately because this also is a risk to the meat that will be then consumed by humans. Thank you so much. Doctor, I see you have raised your hand. Go ahead. I wanted to underscore the importance of the doctor's answers. This is not a recipe or a prescription. If you see a protocol for treatment, it does not mean you have to apply it indiscriminately. You have to be careful. But in the area of the swine specifically, be careful with those going to the slaughterhouse and the medication you will use, because some might have a longer wait time, and so you have to consider that before you send them to the slaughter. So that's why I was saying that for swine going to the slaughterhouse, that you don't apply that treatment. In other species, when you do have a treatment, if you use ivermectin, it's because depending on the product, it's about 20 odd days, depending on the manufacturer. But Dorametin has up to 3 months duration. So it depends on what you are doing. Ivermectin is a field mechanism that, of course, has a lower cost. If a producer has the possibility of using Dorametin, which is more expensive, well, that's fine. But after these protocols, what we do, if there's any animals detected with myiasis at an inspection point, but if it is documented, those samples are taken to another laboratory that detects cyclic samples to see what happened, trying to see if it actually received treatment, or if they just filled out a form saying it did happen. If it's for mobilization, if they have the documentation, but it turns out that they have worms, we will have to see what happened, because it could be that they didn't really apply the treatment. Thank you very much. For reasons of time, we are almost at the end of the webinar. Please, everyone, don't forget to answer the survey. It's really important. I just want to read a final message from Dr. or Engineer Alma Janet Jimenez Flores. I answered directly in the chat box, but I do want to read out her comment. Good morning. Thank you very much for the, I don't see it now. Here, sorry. So, Director of Del Campo Acambay Ruiz Castañeda in the state of Mexico. I'd like to say that there is specific interest in increasing training for our staff on the screwworm because we recently detected a case in a nearby municipality. It has been contained, but because it is very close to us, I think it is essential to reinforce technical capacities of my work team to be able to act in a timely manner following all the health protocols. As I understand it, last year, Senacica offered a diploma or a course on the screwworm. Could you please advise if you're going to add it again or offer it again? I've put our contact information there for the course, and I also think that, just for you to know, we have a Train the Trainer workshop, and we can also explore that by ICA and with the participation and for the staff that already got trained last year through the CPA. And also for the National Confederation of Livestock Organizations, there's staff trained already. They can support us to provide a workshop with you. So just as her message, we have many others similar to that. Again, we will be answering all your questions. We will copy them, and they will be answered. So thank you, everyone. I have added the information as where you can request the course for the CPA, the virtual course. I will repost it here in the chat box again. And you will see the address there. It's a Senacica address, and you can ask for the course by the CPA. And also any webinars, train the trainers, or specific workshops, talks, in person or virtually, for your staff or the community or field staff, you can request that. You can ask me and I will provide the information. Thank you, everyone. The presentations will be available in the YouTube channel at ICA. I'd already provided that information in the chat box as well. Dr. Salvador is asking, we will send it over so that you can have it. And thanks to Dr. Garavito, Mr. Maroto, Dr. Armando Garcia, and Dr. Ivan Espinosa. Thank you for your talks and your participation. Ivan, if you will, could you close? Thank you. Sure, thank you for this great webinar. Thank you for leading us and the great presentations we received, coordinating different actions. Wonderful to see so many people attending. Another important message again, we have to reach the most remote areas. We have to reach everyone we can and work together. Thanks everyone for contributing to this. Thank you to ICA, USDA, Senacica, CPA, and all the countries that joined us today. Thanks to producers, and hopefully everything that has been shared today will be of benefit for all of us and support this goal of stopping the spread of the disease and the harm it's doing, and to achieve eradication. Thank you. And thanks to all the authorities, educational authorities, and the different livestock committees and ministries of agriculture, Senacica, CPA, all the countries of Central America, and others that I am sure are joining us. I saw we have people from Uruguay, Paraguay. Thanks for joining us. The program Sembrando Vida, supporting Senacica with information sharing and promoting reports. Thank you, everyone, and the different schools and academic institutions. Everyone, let's continue in contact and organizing these events to keep sharing information. It takes a bit of time and resources for interpreters and the like, but we can certainly help you. So if you need it, ask for more of these events to reach more people. Thank you, Dr. Armando, as always, for everything, and we will see you next week in Sinaloa for the simulation. And we will soon have more drills and different exercises in equine animals, pets, companion animals, and other species, and some in-person courses as well. So thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Vamos a quitar ya la grabación. Muchas gracias.
We will end the recording. Thank you.